everybody. Good morning. It is a beautiful day here in Northern Nevada. I hope everybody is having a great week so far, and I hope you're really enjoying this workshop. Today is day 4 of the Child Care Business Coach. And you know what? I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting some feedback. I'm going to take these out to cancel out that feedback. It's just not quite working like I thought. But today is day 4 of the Child Care Business Success Bootcamp. So thank you for joining me. If you have been here all 4 days, I hope you're finding it useful at this time, and I hope you are finding value in what I am bringing to you. That is my main goal, is to help you find value. That's what I'm at. My name is Evelyn Knight, by the way, for those of you who are new to me. I am the founder and CEO of Child Care Business Professionals, which is a company that helps owners and directors find success. My mission, one of my missions, I've been talking all day long about my vision for my life, but my mission for this company is to help 10,000 childcare centers find that success that I have found, to help them avoid the struggle. The statistics in the United States, especially through COVID, are crazy. 80% of childcare centers will shut down within the first 2 years. I was once that failing owner. I know what it feels like. I have been so low in my career as a child care professional that I have had an eviction notice on my center's door, which I'm still there today. I found ways to not only completely turn it around, but to be successful. Once upon a time, my husband was helping me in just to keep my doors open, and we were injecting about $80,000 a year into my center just to keep it going. And I've been able to turn that around by not only do we not have to inject money into the center anymore, but I now get an income instead. Complete turnaround, right? And I've owned several centers now at this point and have been able to really just help with just changing that business model that I was so flawed in. And now my goal is to help you guys, to help you do the same. That's why I bring so much free content. That way I can influence more centers around the world, which in the long run will actually help my life's vision of helping all children have a place of high quality standards where they can attend. So that's why I do what I do. Yesterday, I got a message from somebody who it was really sweet, just thanking me for putting so much out there between my podcast, between these live webinars I do. And that's why I do it, because I am on a mission to change the ECE community and help struggling owners like me. I know it can be devastating, you guys, when you think you're going to lose your company or when you see things unraveling. And even if you're not an owner, being a really stressed out director is just exhausting. Having that constant turnover in your center, not being able to retain employees, not knowing why, it's exhausting. It really, truly is. It is hard. And I know I'm in no illusion that our job is very, very hard. So I'm here to help you guys learn the systems and the policies that make it easier. And a lot of where I do that the most is through my membership. So if you are struggling, if you're really having a hard time right now, just talk to me. I actually have set aside a couple spots in the next few days so that I can meet with more of you and do some consultations, see where your center's at, see if how I can help, how I can really just help turn your center around. Or even if you're not financially struggling or you're not struggling with enrollment, are you just exhausted? Are you absolutely exhausted because you can't work another 60-hour week? Do you feel like your center owns you instead of you owning your center? That's where I love to help the most. It's just that time management, getting your life back, right? It's so many times we go into EC management, we become owners thinking we're going to gain a life. We do it because we want to have some kind of control, but instead the opposite happens. Our centers take our lives for us, and our children are growing up in front of our eyes, but we're so bogged down that we're missing out on it, right? Or our husbands are going on. I got a message from a husband that would just basically said, I'm not a center owner, but my wife is, and I'm just trying to understand her. I love my wife, but he said that he feels like he's the other man. And I had actually recorded a podcast episode where, and I talked about how my husband used to tell me that he felt like I was married to my center and he was the other man in my life. And so this husband just messaged me and said, help, what do I do? How can I understand her? How can I help her? And it just really hit my heart because I'm like, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't. The first 5 years of me being an owner, that is what my life was like. But I quickly discovered, thank God, through God's mercy and grace, I discovered it doesn't have to be that way. So if you're ready to break free of that, book a consultation with me. I would be happy to talk to you. I know I have my members. I'm going to click over to comments here. If you guys are my members, tell me in the comments how I've changed your life, how we've helped your center. For my members who are watching, just let my other audience know how much value you're getting from the membership. I really do appreciate when you guys let everybody know, and where we can just become a stronger, better community. And I have to say, I love my members. I love especially my office hours, where I do 2 office hours a week, where I'm just available to you guys. I literally, if you've ever taken a college course, it's literally like a professor's office hours, where I log on to Zoom and my members can jump on and off through the entire time I'm on Zoom, just available. I'm just available. I do that twice a week, where I'm just available to my members. We brainstorm together, we pick our, each other's brains, and I'm just there to help you problem solve. On top of that, I do offer weekly training sessions through my membership group. Every one of my training sessions is recorded. So when you become a member of my group, you actually get just like a year, tons of pre-recorded trainings. So you don't have to attend the trainings live. Everything's recorded. They're posted for future viewing. And all of my past trainings are there with all the documentation that I've created. We're just getting started, but I'm so glad to have found you. Well, thank you. I'm love working with people and just helping just to see these centers turn around, because I know in the long run, it is trickling down to the children. And that is the most important thing, is that trickle down to the children. So, but not to waste any more of your time, I'm going to talk today to you guys about the importance of having an operating system. So today is day 4. And this is a key. And, it's kind of funny. Every time I'm looking over my notes, I'm like, oh, this is the one. This is the one. But honestly, they really all are. And they're all so important. So if you missed any of the other days, go back and rewatch our sessions. Day 1 is about vision. And that I would absolutely have to say, you guys, if you do nothing else, creating a vision, understanding why the vision is so important, and understanding how to use your vision. The most important thing. If you do nothing else from this series, that is the number one most important thing that can really help you with that retention piece, right? The second day, we talked about your center's culture, right? If you have problems with call-ins, gossip within your center, if teachers are not doing what you ask them to do, if they don't know how to talk to the parents, if you're really struggling and you just kind of look like, why don't they just know? It's the culture within your center. You probably haven't been intentional about creating a culture, and culture is so important. Culture will actually define your brand. It's going to create your brand, right? And you want to be very, very intentional. I think Chick-fil-A is the one company that is absolutely amazing at branding and having that culture. Their company's culture has produced this amazing brand that has produced so much loyalty. When I say Chick-fil-A, everybody knows that efficiency and quality, right? You can drive up to a Chick-fil-A and the line can be a mile long, but it's not that bad, right? A huge line of 30 cars at Chick-fil-A is going to be better than 5 cars at McDonald's, because they're so efficient. They have this culture of just efficiency and good customer service, and it really shows, right? And so if you look at a place like Chick-fil-A versus a place like McDonald's, the prices are also a lot higher, right? They are able to charge higher prices because they have created a better brand. They have a better product. They have a better system. They give you a better experience, right? So that is what your culture is going to do. Your culture is going to create this experience for the children and for their families, which are going to enable you to charge higher prices, right? It's going to enable you to be the place that has that line of cars for, 30 cars long. Do you ever see a line at a McDonald's or a Burger King as long as you see it at Chick-fil-A, right? Think about that. What are some other ones? If you're on the West Coast, I don't think the East Coast has In-N-Out Burger. That's another one that we love here on the West Coast. In-N-Out Burger has amazing customer service, quality, and simplest menu you're ever going to see. But it's that brand that they created, right? And that is no different for us in ECE. We need to be intentional about our brand. It will determine how your teachers perform. It's going to determine how people talk about your center in public. It's going to be the outcomes, right? It will become who your center is. And that, again, should be tied into vision. So yesterday we talked about creating your dream team, which is always the most popular session I do. If all the replays, I will have by far the most views on the dream team, as we all want that dream team. And we all think that it's not out there, but it is. So yesterday, I really talked a lot about how are we going to create this dream team? How did I do it? Interestingly enough, right after I recorded that video for you guys and I went live, I actually interviewed Scott Wayman from Kangaroo Time for my podcast. We recorded a podcast episode and we had a very similar discussion on recruiting in this day and age. So you guys listen, I'll post when that one comes out. I'll share it with you guys. But we know how hard it is to hire in today's current culture, right? It is so hard to hire right now. And so we really dive deep into how are we hiring right now? And not only how are we hiring, but more importantly, how are we retaining? Retention is so much more important. And if I could just get you guys to really just leave with that one, enrollment is great, but retention is better. Hiring is necessary, but retaining is better, right? So how are we retaining? That is huge. So yesterday I did talk a lot about with your staff, how do you hire? How do you retain? How do you create that dream team? That is really what it is. It doesn't matter who your staff is, you guys. You do have a dream team within your staff. It is how you present yourself as a leader that will determine that dream team. Right. So, and not everybody, I'm not saying everybody on your staff is part of that dream yet. Some of them will probably have to go, but you do have those diamonds in the rough. Just think of what a diamond is before it becomes a diamond, right? It has to be polished and there's a lot of work that goes into it before it becomes a beautiful piece of jewelry. I've actually seen a diamond in the rough and it's rough. It is, you would never think it's so beautiful until it's polished. And that's what we need to do for our staff. We just need to help them to see that they can be those shiny pennies. So, and then today we're going to talk about your operating systems, which is one of my favorite topics and one of the things I'm really good about. When I first started doing this, my director, she was my assistant at the time. And she just used to like, one more form, really? One more form, really? Because I basically, as I started learning about business, I realized that everything has to be automated. All of the research I've done, I've told you yesterday, I've studied a lot of business gurus, right? And one of the keys, a few takeaways I've gotten is, and like I told you guys yesterday, mentoring, huge, right? Coaching and mentoring your team is so much more important than training. We have to train, but it's honestly useless if you're not coaching and mentoring. You can send your team to all the trainings in the world, but if you're not coaching them and mentoring them, it's doing no good, right? The other thing that I found, the second piece of the puzzle that I found that is just key is having an operating system. You have to have a documented, duplicatable operating system. And basically, I set off on a journey to learn how to duplicate myself. And that's what I realized. Like, if you are just running yourself ragged, you need to duplicate yourself. You need to figure out a way to really duplicate you into your staff, right? So that's where I took my director, Brandy. And I'm hoping Brandy will be on with us tomorrow. I'm hoping. We have to see. She's working. So I'll have to go to my center to record tomorrow and hopefully get her on so she can talk to you guys a little bit about the difference that we've made. Brandy's been with me for almost 12 years. So she has seen a huge transformation. She was also with my center before I was there. She was with Zooming Around with the previous owner. So she can really tell you just the transformation from going from an owner who really didn't care or understand quality to who we are today as a 5-star quality center. So that's where the operating system, right? You just wish people were more like you. So you need to duplicate yourself, and it is possible. You absolutely do. I told you guys a story yesterday, but I'm going to tell it again today because it's really important and I'm going to go a little bit more into detail. When I hired a coach, to help us improve the quality of our center, I actually was working with 2 coaches. I was working with a business coach to help with the quality of our business structure, business program, financials, and all of that. I also, we were also working with a classroom behavior, like a classroom management coach, right? To really help and improve the quality of our classrooms. When I was talking to her, I was telling her, it's so frustrating for me because I know all this stuff. At the time, at that point in my center's history, I did not let anyone arrange classrooms. I didn't let them pick supplies for their classrooms. All of the classroom arrangements had to be done by me. I wouldn't allow anyone to move a stick of furniture without asking me or a basket on the shelves. The way everything was on my shoulders, the classroom arrangement, the supplies, where they go, how many of everything, right? Because I know how it should be to have the high quality standards, right? But it was all on me while I'm still trying to run a business. I was wearing the hat of owner and director. And by the way, those are 2 separate hats. For you owner directors out there, you need to know the distinction of your job as an owner and your job as a director. They are 2 very different jobs. And you need to know when you're the owner and when you're the director, right? They are not the same thing. And you have to have those 2 different hats. So basically, when I went in and I told her I had actually been working with one specific teacher, and I was going in for a month from basically about 7 a.m. till noon, going through the bulk of that preschool time and just working for her or with her. And my hopes is if she saw me and she saw what I was modeling, she was just going to mimic what I did. But it wasn't happening. What literally happened one day, I had gotten through snack time. We did a circle time. We did all these things. And she said, man, I wish I could do it the way you do it. And I said, well, why don't you just do what I do? That's it. And she's like, oh, I just can't. And so I was really frustrated and talked to our classroom coach. And I basically said to her, like, I don't know what else to do. I mean, I've put her through classes. I'm in there modeling. What else do I do? And she said, yes, you might be in there modeling. Yes, you're putting her, but you're not coaching. So when you go in there, you need to make sure she knows. You need to be intentional. You need to tell her, I am now going to go do circle time. I want you to watch what I do and take notes. Don't work, don't do anything else. Just watch me and take notes. When you're done with that, you have them do that, right? Then you discuss it. Did you notice how and then you point things out. Did you notice when we read stories to the children, we do it in an interactive way. We don't just hold a book up here and just read like this, right? You actually stop, ask questions, get them involved, point out new vocabulary words. You don't just, so in your voice intonation goes up and down. You show that emotion and you want to get them involved in the story. So that's basically what she was telling me I needed to do. And she's like, and then you tell them, now tomorrow I'm going to come in, you're going to do it, and I'm going to observe and take notes, right? So then after that, we discuss, what did we find? What did you do great? What wasn't so great, right? I think Now I talked to, I'm sorry, you guys, I've been doing so much in the last few days. I can't remember. Did I talk about my glows and grows in training, or was it on one of my lives? It was actually in my membership group. But one of my key things I like to always do is I do present glows and grows to my staff. Glows are anything positive, grows are things that they need to grow. I'm never going to just tell them where they need to grow. I'm always going to lift them up, tell them what they need to grow in, right? So it's almost like this up and down, right? You're going to lift them up to a certain extent. Constructive criticism is going to bring them down a little bit, right? But then in the end, I'm going to lift them back up. So I'm going to do a glow, grow, glow, right? My husband always called it a positive sandwich. He always said, like, when you're a manager, you have to do a positive sandwich, positive, negative, positive. But that is what coaching is. Coaching isn't. So if you're going in your classrooms and you're just doing things and thinking they're going to pick up on them, they're not. That is not coaching. That's just working. That really is. When you coach, you're going to go in there. You're going to intentionally tell them, this is what I'm going to do. I want you to watch me. Notice specific things. Tell them, notice how I read the story while I'm doing it. Afterwards, you're going to guide them through it, right? And then you're going to let them demonstrate for you, and you're going to give them feedback based on the demonstration. Well, that's a lot of work to do with every one of your teachers, right? We can only duplicate ourselves so many times, whether it's in management, which is what I did with Brandy. I taught Brandy, coached her to become a director, so very similar. I would demonstrate things for her. We would talk about, did you notice how we talked about this, this, and this? And then eventually I started letting her do everything on her own. And I just sat back and watched, right? And then gave feedback. But it is a lot of work. So what I've done is taken it a step further, and I've turned this method into manuals. I actually have a training manual now that all of my members receive, that it's our new hire training, but I use it for dual purposes. I don't only do it for new hires. We also do it for, gosh, and I cannot remember the title of it, but I believe I call it our philosophy and procedure refresher. And every other year, every staff member has to go through this refresher. And basically the way it's set up is where every day, for my new hires, every day for their first 30 days, they're giving up, it's actually every Monday, they're given a packet, right? And within this packet are daily lessons. And just like I just explained to you through the guided coaching, it guides them throughout the day. It tells them, I want you to specifically look for an incident where a child has a discipline or guidance issue. How did the teacher involved handle it? What kind of language did they use? Were they standing or were they on their knees? And basically it really guides them to the points that I want them to see. And it basically tells them, but they have to interact. If you give people a manual that they're just reading, they're never going to read it. You want something where they really have to interact and get involved, right? So for 30 days, every day for their first 30 days on the job, they're going to have these forms. And every day they're going to have these things that they're going to fill out while they work. So this isn't something they're doing. It's just during the day, they're going to fill it basically just it forces them to notice things and to learn how to conduct themselves. And I'm trying to think I always think of nap time and outdoor time. Those are like the big ones for us, right? So that's where I'm always thinking in terms of how do you conduct yourself outside. The other thing I might do is ask them something like, today, when you're outside, I want you to notice something the child is very interested in. I want you to facilitate learning and enhance their vocabulary. Now, explain to me exactly how you did it. And there might be like a little paragraph area where they have to write for me, how did they enhance? And I want them to know, like, what vocabulary words did you point out? What out of the box words did you use with the children you normally wouldn't? So I'm guiding them, right? So before they walk into this, they're going to read it and they're going to see all my requirements. And then they're going to do these things, right? And before that, I am giving them the strategies also in my procedures manual. And it actually will say, refer to section A15 of my procedures manual, where I talk about engaging with the children and how you speak to them. Read that and then find an opportunity on the playground to engage in facilitating play, right? So they're going to read the training first, and then they're going to go do. And then at the end of the week, we take that, we review it and see, did they really understand what what we were trying to get through to them? Do they still need coaching? And I have a form for that too, where my directors can basically go through the form and evaluate how, based on their weekly trainings, did they perform? Are they really getting this? Right. And so basically, we're coaching them every single day. And by the way, my onboarding process is 6 months long. It is 6 months. That way, after 6 months, you've just duplicated this teacher, right? Now you have somebody who really does know what you're doing. And you can step away and the center flows just like you would if you were there. The sign of a great leader is when you can leave and your company goes on without you just fine. If great leaders will duplicate themselves. If your center cannot function when you're not there, then you have a problem. You have a leadership problem. And I'm sorry, I am a realist and I tend to be brutally honest, but your center should function no differently, whether you're there or whether you're not there. It is absolutely the same. It should not change. It should not change. So I really want you guys to look at that. Are you stuck at your center all the time? If you are, then you need an operating system that is documented and duplicatable. You need to duplicate yourself, whether it's in the classroom or as a manager, right? And I'll tell you, directors, life happens. You guys have to have these duplicatable processes, right? And you guys know right now, if you've been watching me any period of time, I'm facing a very huge obstacle in my life. My husband is we're entering into hospice care, and we're literally, when I'm not here working, I'm literally doing end of life tasks at this moment and it's really hard, right? The last thing I need to worry about is how are my businesses doing in my absence? I can't work nearly as much as I was, right? I'm spending 20 to 30 hours a week caring for my husband. I am his primary caregiver. So a huge chunk of my time, if not more, now that I think about it, it's probably a lot more than 20, 30 hours. It's probably more than 40 hours a week. Most of my time is spent in caregiving right now. So I'm not available. And had I not had these duplicatable systems, had I not duplicated myself into Brandy, my director, even in this company, Childcare Business Professionals, I have systems in place for my new assistant, Pam, is already stepping in. And I'm already duplicating, where she can basically take over when I walk away, right? I have different, and sometimes it's more than one person. In both my companies, it is more than one person. Not one person can't do everything, but I do have these tasks assigned, right? And I have documented systems. So right now, I know I'm about to step away. I know I'm going to have to just step back. But I also know that when I do, both my companies are going to go on just like I was there. There's still, for childcare business professionals, my clients, I have guest trainers lined up for every Tuesday. Since I do a training every Tuesday, I have really great high-end guest trainers coming in that names that you guys probably know, like Beth Cannon. I just talked to Scott Wayman yesterday about taking on maybe one of my live sessions, like one of these. I have Corey Berg stepping in with me. So it's all just really high level, high quality people that are coming in, and also very valuable, right? I have a lawyer that's going to be presenting on what we need to be careful for in childcare with our contracts. And hi, Prina. Oh, Prina is another one. Prina Richards is another one who will be available, who works with me on a constant basis. And that's where I'm getting ready, and I have this all prepared right now. So when I do step away, I won't really be missed. It will all, my companies are going to go on just like I was there, right? But that takes systems. So for you owners out there, you really need to look within yourself. If you had to disappear tomorrow, and life happens, you guys, it comes out of nowhere. I've had it happen to me so many times. And if COVID hasn't taught us this, right? But there are things that will pull you away eventually. Life happens to us all. One of the things I always say now is disasters are always happening somewhere, right? Always happening to someone, always happening somewhere. The only thing that made COVID difference is it happened to all of us at once. So when life happens to you, as an owner, are you ready? Are you ready? Is your center ready? Or are you at risk at losing everything? Is your staff at risk of losing their job because nobody can do payroll but you? Who is going to keep things going? Well, one of the things I realize now, and I've learned this the hard way by experience, I have a neurological disease. And when I was first diagnosed, I wasn't ready. And I went through quite a few months of very hard, tough times. And when I came back and I was ready to come back to work, I came back into a disaster. You guys, I cannot even stress to you how horrible my company was because I disappeared. It was so bad. And I had a bookkeeper and accountants. I had these people I thought were in place, but I didn't have proper systems that were documented. There was no organization, right? I literally got a knock on my front door and it was an IRS agent. That's how bad things were. And I did not even know. I didn't even know it was that bad until I had an IRS agent at my front door. And that was one of the wake up calls I had where I realized I've got to make a huge change or my family is going to lose everything because of my negligence. So for those of you owners, when life hits, are you ready? Or are you going to be like me 12 years ago, where you have an IRS agent knocking on your front door? Who's going to make your payroll? Who's going to make sure your staff's payroll is getting covered? Who's going to make sure that you're not losing children and that your center can move on, right? Disasters in life cause so many people to go bankrupt, but it doesn't have to be that way. So that's where I would encourage you guys. Join my membership. If you're the owner who isn't ready, join my membership. You really owe it to yourself. One of the things I realize right now because of my past experience, when this happened to me 12 years ago, my husband also got sick at the same time. It was bad. He was in the hospital. I got my neurological disease. Everything came at us at once. And it took about a year for me to get stabilized. And coming out of it, it's like waking up from a nightmare, right? It's like you've lived through this nightmare. And one day you wake up and you look at your life and it's just like, oh my gosh, what has happened? What has happened to my life? What did I do? Right. And if you guys, those of you who know me know I am huge on accountability. Accountability is probably one of the most important character traits that I value. So I had no one but myself to blame. I didn't have the systems in place. I wasn't making sure things were happening, right? And I will tell you guys, there were periods where I was going into narcoleptic comas. IRS and credit agencies, they don't care. You can be in a coma and they don't care. Things still have to go on. They will still shut you down, right? That is just the reality because they say you should have had a backup plan. And they're right. You should have a backup plan. It is our responsibility as business owners to have a backup plan. So that's something that now what I teach will help you guys to have a backup plan. Duplicating yourself is key to making sure you can step away. So now it's almost like I get a redo, right? I feel like I get this redo where I failed the test in 2012. And I woke up in 2012 to this absolute nightmare that took years for me to dig my center out of. Years. And honestly, it was only about a 3-month period of time that I was completely out of it. Right. But it took me years to fix that 3 months period of time. So now here I am again, and I'm facing my next huge challenge where I know, again, I'm going to have to be away and I'm going to have to step away for a while. But this time I know there's going to be a tomorrow. I know eventually the pain that my family is feeling, everything we're going through right now it's never really going to pass, but we're going to learn to live with it. and I need to go on tomorrow. I know now I need businesses to come back to. I need an income, right? So this time I'm prepared. I'm not going to repeat the same mistake I made so many years ago. So I have that operating system. I have the duplicatable system in place so that my staff knows in both my companies, they know exactly what to do in my absence. I don't have to worry about them. So I literally can just disappear for a few weeks when we need to, which I know we're going to need to, and pretty shortly here, but my companies will be fine. And I just align myself too with just so many wonderful experts that will step into my place that I just know everybody is going to be well taken care of. So that's what I would really encourage you guys. If you don't have these systems, join my membership and I will help you to get them there. I'll help you not only for disaster's sake, but for every day, just to get your sanity back, just to be able to have control of your life again, right? So that you can take vacations without worrying and without your phone. I remember one year my family was in Disneyland and I feel like I spent the entire trip on the phone. And that's one of the things my son had actually said to me is, Mom, we're on vacation and you're on the phone the whole time, because nothing could happen without me. Nobody could make a decision without me. Nobody could do this and that without me. So here I was in Disneyland on the phone, not enjoying my family. And I see these kind of comments in Facebook groups from you guys all the time, or these posts that are like, how do you guys take a vacation? If you can't take a vacation, it's because you don't have an operating system. You don't have systems in place. You don't have any way to duplicate yourself. And it's really not that hard. And that is really honestly what my membership is really out there to help you guys create these high quality childcare programs that don't own your life. That is what I do. And Prana Richards on here, she actually helps out. Her and I just teamed up. So you can join both of our programs together. We're teaming up so that both of our programs are just one combined effort. I really teach the business end of things, help you straighten out your business practices, help you get your business in order, help you with your team members, your staffing. Are your parents following procedures? Do you have procedures, or is it a free-for-all? Do parents just attend your program whenever they feel like it? Those are more procedures you need, right? And you need to train your parents too. We do parent orientation, which trains our parents of our expectations. That's why during COVID, I didn't have a hard time with parents paying, even if they weren't there, right? I ended up offering to give them credit because their children weren't in attendance. But our families understand that they're paying for enrollment, not attendance, right? I'm going to say that again. Our families know that they're paying for enrollment, which is their space at my center, not for attendance. So a lot of the arguments that you guys get with well, my child wasn't here, I'm deducting for this day. I don't have to deal with that stuff because my policies, my procedures are very clear. But more importantly, I have a delivery method. I have a delivery method so that my families and my staff are educated on what I expect and what my standards are. They know exactly what is expected of them. That also helps me with accountability. So we don't have out of control call-in issues at my center because we can hold my staff accountable. They know in black and white, these are my policies, these are my procedures, this is how it is, period. So when they don't follow that, I have a method where we can hold them accountable, right? And I was training a little bit on this earlier this week too, where in ECE, we have accepted this culture of mediocrity because we are so afraid to reprimand our staff. But a lot of that is our fault because we are not making our expectations clear. Our expectations are not clear to our staff. We assume, and I'll tell you right now, what I teach all my managers is there is no such thing as common sense, you guys. So as you say to yourself, yeah, well, that should be common sense. Get that out of your mind. There is no such thing as common sense. What I see as common sense, you will not see as common sense. To me, having duplicatable systems, right, that are documented, having documentations for everything, that seems to me like should be common sense. But I'll tell you, 80% of childcare center owners I talk to don't have that in play. So what I see is common sense. 80% of you don't, right? So just to put that in perspective, what you think is common sense to your employees, 80% of them probably don't. There is no such thing as common sense. Just when you accept that fact, it will help you to understand how detailed you need to get in training and teaching people how to do things, right? You might see spilt milk and think, well, it's common sense to clean up spilt milk. But in your employee's mind, they may see a more urgent need right now. They may see that, I don't know, the two children fighting in the corner is more important, right? So what do you, and I'm not saying that it isn't. In my center, it would be more important. In your center, the spilt milk might be more important, right? So that's where you need to make your expectations clear. That's where you need to help your staff to see, as your employer, this is what I expect and what I want out of you. Okay. So that's basically what this operating system that is documented policies and procedures, that's what they're going to do. Many of you think you have documented policies and procedures, but what you have is an employee handbook. So if you have something that is talking about how do you put in a day off request, how many days off are you allowed to take, what is your call-in policy, what is your abuse and neglect policy, things like that, those are not policies and procedures. That's an employee handbook. Policies and procedures are going to give your employees step-by-step guides on how everything should be conducted. So for call-ins, for example, you should have a policy that, yes, you're going to say, this is my policy. You can only call in this many times per quarter before you're written up, right? Or per year before you're written up. This is your bonus system if you don't call in, right? But after that, it should say, however, if you do call in, you are required to call in 24 hours. You're required to not text message, but call this phone number. You're required to make sure that you get confirmation. You're required to find your own substitute. You're going to take those steps, right? But remember, people don't read this stuff. They don't read it. I have procedures for everything, you guys. Even like, how do you change a diaper? There's an 8-step system we use, and it's posted right by the diaper changing table, right? I have, how do you talk to the children? What kind of language? I have systems for that. How do you deal with a biter? Every single time, it's the same procedure. We do what works. How do you deal with potty training? How do you deal with accidents? What happens if a child soils their underwear? What are the procedures for that? It's all documented, right? And it's all has a training. So that's where you really just learn. And on a managerial side, things like, what do you do when a parent doesn't pay on time? Is that documented? What do you do when a child's not in attendance, right? What do you do when a parent wants to prepay? What do you do? Everything. How do you take a payment? That needs to be documented. The steps that you take when you're taking a payment, all of it. It may seem minute, but it happens. My opening procedures, when we have our openers, we get down to the nitty gritty on when you approach the front door, unlock it. When you open the door, make sure it's locked behind you so that parents aren't coming in before our operating hours. Does that seem like it should be common sense? Don't leave the door unlocked or they're going to be coming in before opening hours. It does, but they get into a frenzy, they forget. So those things need to be documented. It is step-by-step documentation. And more importantly, you need to coach it. You need to show them because they're not going to read it. So having something in place where they actually have to like do checklists, they have to really just understand and know and go through the process with your documentation. That is the staff call out procedures. Yes, we have staff call out. I have a procedure for everything, you guys. It took me 10 years to my procedures. So for those of you in my membership, that's where what you guys get. You get the 10 years worth of all the documentation that I've written in a 10-year period. It is a lot. So I trickle it in. I do trainings on everything. I explain how it works, but 10 years worth of Okay, we have a new thing that occurred. This is how we deal with it. For those of you guys who are my clients during COVID, COVID was something new to all of us. So I just went straight into action, created an outline, and just how my brain works. I'll just sit down, like, okay, what do we need to do? Create an outline. And I shared it with you guys. I shared it for free because COVID was COVID. So I shared all of this. It's actually still in my group. If you guys need an infectious disease plan, it's in there. I basically created an infectious disease plan right there and then, right on the spot, right? So, and then I shared it with all my clients. Anything I create, anything that arises, I share it with my clients. So if you're really struggling and you're finding that your staff isn't living up to your expectations, it's probably because you don't have any. I mean, you do in your mind, but they don't know what they are, right? I've told you guys a story before about one of my best employees who I was really upset with because I thought that she was doing a really poor job. And for the last couple months, I had been just really disappointed in her. And she was one of my favorite employees, but I had been very disappointed in her. I sat down to do her annual review. And when I sat at my desk, I thought, ooh, this is going to be ugly. Oh, this is going to be her first really bad one. And she's been with me for years. As I'm going through my checklist, which I created, I created my annual reviews based on the expectations that I verbalize that are documented, right? So the expectations that I have given to my staff in writing, I created my employee review based on that. When I got done doing her review, it was the best review I have ever done. The best review. She basically hit every single mark in an excellent category. So I really had to look at that. And I was just shocked. I'm like, I thought this was going to be awful. I've been so disappointed in her for the last few months. I've been so disappointed in her performance that I actually started thinking she was burnt out and I was going to have to let her go. Right. But then as I'm sitting here reviewing the document that I created based on the expectations I created, she's doing almost a near perfect job. So I really had to tell myself, I'm the problem, not her. I'm the problem in this situation. So my question to you guys is, how many of you guys are the problems? How many? As you're blaming your staff. I know that's really tough to hear, really hard to hear, but your lack of documented expectations, your lack of policies and real procedures, you're setting your staff up for failure. And that is why you don't have a dream team. When I saw that document and I saw that I was the cause of her poor performance, it's not that she wasn't performing poor. She was actually doing a stellar job based on what I told her I expected. The problem is my expectations changed, but they were in my mind and I had never communicated them with her. She had no idea. I was holding her to a different standard and having new expectations for her. So I had to take ownership of that and realize this is an excellent employee that I almost lost because I was so stuck within myself because of my poor leadership, not because of her. So I changed the expectations. I gave her a raise and told her, hey, I think it's time for you to go to the next level. These are your new expectations. And of course, she rose to the challenge. As soon as I understood what my expectations of her were, and I documented them and I gave them to her, she rose to the challenge. She did get to that next level. And basically, I had expected her to get to a next level without me telling her or giving her the tools she needed, right? I just expected it. Like, okay, you're here now. You should naturally want to go. It's not how it works, you guys. We, as EC leaders, we are A-type personalities. We have those natural personalities to want to achieve more and to grow and to get better and better and better, right? That is what A-type personalities do. The people we lead are not A-types. They're B. They don't have the personality type. They need the guidance, okay? If all of them were like us, they would all be owners and directors too. They wouldn't be your staff, right? They would all outgrow you. You don't want a center full of A-type personalities or they're going to outgrow you and leave. We don't have enough jobs within our centers to provide all the jobs that all these A-types need, right? So you want those people who need to be led.
The key is understanding, just like we teach for children. Children have different temperaments. Then, there's a whole gamut of different temperaments, right? There's a whole gamut of different needs. Our staff is no different, you guys. They have different temperaments and they have different needs. It's our job to help train them and coach them through that and to mentor them, right? And you're going to do that through having solid, documented policies, procedures, and an operating system. So again, if this is something you're really, really struggling with, message me or post it in my the feed here. I'd be happy to set a time to sit down and talk to you, tell you what my membership program can do for you. Now is the time. When I hired my first business coach, I had a decision to make. I was about to lose my company and I knew it. I was about to go bankrupt. My house was on the line. I was desperate. I just thought to myself, like, my whole family's future is on the line here. My lack of just action at the time and my lack of business knowledge is what it really was about to cost my family everything we had worked for, right? So I met with my first business coach and I remember sitting in her office thinking, I can't afford this. I can't afford it. I mean, this was back in 2012. She was going to charge me $750. I didn't know how I was going to buy paper towels tomorrow, let alone pay a coach $750, right? But I also knew that I had no choice. This was it. This was my last hope. And so I took the dive. I did it. And I just decided, okay, I can't afford not to do this. I need to find the money. And I'm so glad I did. It has changed my life. And I will never, ever be a business owner without coaching. I will always be trying to strive for the next level. And I will always have a business coach. I'm working with 2 right now. No matter what level I'm at, someone's always going to be at a level above me. So I will always work with a business coach. That is what I bring to you guys. I am a child. I took what I've learned through being coached. I've took what I've learned through all the business books I've read, and I've basically developed a program that is specific to the child care industry. And what makes me different from the other coaches is I'm still a center owner. I've been a director. I've been an owner. I've been a teacher. I've been the cook. I've been a bus driver within a childcare center. I know what it is to be in those walls, and I'm still an owner. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, I went and looked at purchasing another center. I still walk the walk and I live the life right alongside you guys. And that's what makes me different from other coaches. So if you're on the fence and thinking about it, give me a call. No high pressure sales. I'll talk to you guys. You can ask my members and people who haven't chosen my membership. I'm very, very honest and transparent. I don't want anybody wasting their money. So if we're not going to be a good fit, I'll tell you. I will absolutely tell you. But if it is something that I know I can help you, I can help you get your time back. I can help you get your life back, get that business back in order. I will absolutely tell you the honest truth on whether you should take the dive or not. So let me know if you guys want to chat. I've opened up spaces today and tomorrow. And I have sometime Saturday that I'd be happy to have some conversations. One last thing, I have a pretty exciting announcement. I am opening my Monday office hours to the general public so you guys can get a sample and see what it's like to be in my membership program. So if you're interested, I will be posting the Zoom link and everybody can just jump on and off. And it's literally just going to be a Q&A session where you guys can pick my brain. That's going to be happening at 11 a.m. Pacific time on Monday. So I hope you guys found some value in this today. Let me know in the comments of your questions or if you want to chat. Have a wonderful rest of your day, guys.